When the clock struck 10 that evening, Oscar finally found the strength to head upstairs to their bedroom. His wife, Julia, breathtaking as ever, the woman he'd loved and stood beside for 35 years, was getting ready for another night out with her friends. The idea that she might be heading off to meet someone stirred the same unsettling feeling in his chest that had first taken root after her last girls' night the previous Friday. He still couldn't come to terms with this new weekly tradition. She caught the anxious look in his eyes and exhaled, clearly irritated. "I hope you're not about to start in on this again," she said, her tone weary. His eyes drifted to the outfit laid out on the bed, an elegant dress and delicate blue lingerie that was clearly brand new. She looked nothing short of stunning. "I don't think I've ever seen that before," he said, unable to hide the surprise in his voice. For a brief moment she hesitated, almost like she'd been caught off guard. "Of course not. I just picked them up this week," she answered casually. After a short pause, Oscar stepped into the bathroom. When he came back, he tossed her usual lingerie, simple and familiar, into the hamper. In his hands, he held a pair of plain cotton underwear. "This is what you wear for me," he remarked, voice laced with quiet irony. Then, gesturing to the delicate blue bra and lace panties, he added, "And that? You buy that for some stranger you haven't even met." His gaze locked onto hers, a quiet accusation hiding behind his calm exterior. She immediately stiffened. "That's not true," she said quickly. "Not yet, maybe," he murmured, letting the silence speak louder than any words. Then he continued, his voice low and deliberate, "Unless it's just another innocent girls' night. Or is there someone special you're planning to see tonight? Like a date?" She stared at him, shocked by the implication. "No," she said, raising her voice. "There is no one else. How can you even say that?" Oscar took a breath, choosing his words carefully. "When you're with your friends, I assume you're not out dancing with strange men, or chatting them up, or letting them get too close. Right? Because I wouldn't be okay with that." His voice remained steady, but the pressure in the room was growing thick. "I think I know more about those friends of yours than you think," he added, unmoved. "Oh, really?" she challenged. "You mean a single woman, 2 divorcees, and me? Are you actually suggesting they're trying to drag me into their mess?" "I'm not passing judgment," he replied calmly. "They're free to live how they choose. Just like you are." Julia narrowed her eyes. "So you're saying I have a choice to make, is that it? That if I go out, I'm making the wrong one?" "I'm saying exactly that. It's your decision," Oscar said firmly, eyes never leaving hers. "But I believe the kind of choices they're making could lead you somewhere dangerous. They could drag you into something that threatens what we've built." Her laugh was sharp, laced with disbelief. "You seriously think grabbing drinks with my friends could put our entire marriage at risk? Don't be so dramatic. I'm always coming home to you, aren't I? Why are you so bothered by this?" The tension between them thickened, the unspoken fears clinging to the air. Oscar's chest tightened as he watched her finish getting ready. Julia looked every bit as beautiful as the day they met, and the idea of her heading into a club full of flirty strangers, alongside women he didn't trust, filled him with dread. The blend of loud music, flowing alcohol, and loose boundaries was a disaster waiting to happen. "Wait," he said, lifting a hand as she turned to speak. "Our marriage is already strained," he began, motioning toward the revealing outfit she wore. "And you expect me to just smile and wave as you head out in that?" Julia didn't pause. She kept applying her makeup. "I told them I'd meet them at 10. And now I'm going to be late because of this conversation." "You also once promised to respect me," he shot back, sarcasm seeping into his voice. "Do your friends' feelings now mean more to you than mine?" She snapped her head around, annoyance flaring in her eyes. "What is wrong with you tonight? I'm just grabbing a drink with some friends. That's it. Go get some sleep." Oscar exhaled slowly, trying to steady his emotions. I want to trust you, he said softly, but every Friday night, I sit here wondering if you're going to let some guy lean in too close, say something smooth, and you'll forget the life we've built, even for a moment. I'm not that kind of woman, she replied defensively. She looked ready to say more, but he cut her off. I can't help the way I feel, not after seeing what Barbara's been posting all week. Her wild nights, her hookups. It's all out there, and it's hard to pretend it doesn't bother me. A heavy silence settled between them, and Oscar, staring into the distance, finally realized this night wasn't just about going out. It was about something deeper unraveling between them. Oscar could feel it, their marriage teetering on the edge of something fragile and dangerous. Something had shifted, and he knew it wouldn't go back to the way it was. She used to be one of your closest friends, he said, his voice low, frustration leaking through. And now, this is what she does with her weekends. How long before you convince yourself it doesn't matter, as long as I never find out? Julia sat frozen, stunned into silence, her wide eyes betraying disbelief. He wasn't done. If you want to dance, I'll go with you. If you want music and movement, I'll join you on the floor, he offered, voice tightening. But if your plan is to flirt with strangers, maybe even more, then let's not pretend. We can call this quits right now. His words struck her like a slap. That's incredibly offensive, she snapped, hurt flaring in her voice. No, he said, steady and sharp. That's me being honest. I can't understand how this doesn't tear at your conscience, letting a clean-shaven stranger put his hands on you, kiss you, looking for a quick thrill or maybe something deeper. He paused, watching her closely, searching for the smallest sign that she understood where he was coming from. I want to believe you haven't stepped over that line, but I need you to make a decision. You can go, or you can stay. That's on you. But know this, if you walk out that door, don't expect me to sit here waiting like some obedient shadow. I get to choose, too. It was all on the table now. His worries, his hopes, his final plea for something real between them. She could see it, but she didn't want to. Not then. And now, she stood at a crossroads. Him, or the life her friends offered. This is a sick joke, Oscar, she spat, her voice trembling with anger. It's not a joke, he replied calmly, his voice unshaken. If you want to dress up like your single, divorced friends and head to the bars every weekend, that's your decision. But don't expect me to sit here, imagining you coming home with the scent of another man clinging to you. That's not the life I signed up for. He turned away, each step deliberate as he moved toward the hallway. I have things to take care of. When you're done thinking, I'll be downstairs, he said, his voice echoing behind him. Julia remained in place, seated in front of her mirror, her reflection betraying the storm inside her. Her face looked calm, but the battle raged within. She hadn't technically crossed the line. Not entirely. Yes, there had been that man last Friday, charming, confident, and she had let her fingers linger a little too long when they danced. But that was it. Still, the spark he lit in her had been dangerously thrilling. The compliments Oscar gave her felt routine, the kind spoken out of habit. But at the club, the men looked at her with hungry eyes, and that made her feel electrified, desired in a way she hadn't felt in years. Downstairs, Oscar sat at his laptop, quietly working through an online form, unaware that the moment that would decide their future had already arrived. It was nearly 11 p.m. when Julia finally descended the stairs. Her heels clicked softly on the wood, each step deliberate. The blue dress clung to her frame, her legs long and poised, her presence striking. Oscar looked up briefly, uncertain what her choice would be. Would she stay? Or disappear into the night with women he no longer trusted? A thick silence filled the space between them. She hesitated, as though still weighing her decision. I'm already late, she said finally, a note of doubt in her voice. We'll talk tomorrow. Oscar didn't answer. He gave a slow shake of his head, turning his attention back to his screen. The coldness in his silence was louder than any words. Julia took a step toward the front door, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Was he really ready to let her walk out? The door slammed behind her, the sound sharp and final. Oscar barely flinched. He clicked "Submit" on the form, then attached the confirmation link to an email. His chest ached, but his hands were steady. Then, without a word, he climbed the stairs and began packing 2 suitcases. The decision was no longer a maybe, it was done. On Monday, he would be starting fresh, accepting a long-offered job in the Caribbean. It was time for a new chapter. As he waited for the taxi to arrive, he opened the family group chat and typed out a message that felt like a goodbye. "Hi everyone. I wish I could share this under better circumstances, but I need to be honest. Julia has made it clear she's chasing something I can't offer anymore. I've sent her the divorce papers. Thank you all for being part of my life. It's best that I step away now. Please don't reach out. I'll always wish you well." With one final task in mind, he walked to the printer, pulled out a sheet of paper, and scribbled a message at the bottom. He placed it on the framed wedding photo that still hung above the fireplace, a relic of better days. Then, with one last breath, he turned off his phone and stepped outside, waiting quietly for the taxi that would take him away. At that moment, Julia sat in a booth at the club, laughing beside Barbara when her phone buzzed. Julia's phone vibrated against the tabletop. Annoyed, she glanced down, half expecting another attempt from Oscar to guilt her into coming home. But to her surprise, it wasn't him. It was her sister, Shannon. "Where the hell are you?" Shannon's voice crackled through the speaker, tense and accusatory. "I'm out with my friends at the club," Julia answered quickly, defensively, bracing for judgment. "Does Oscar know where you are?" Shannon pressed, her tone sharp like a blade. "He knows I'm out. I told him," Julia replied, her shoulders tensing. "It's not like I'm hiding it. And was he okay with it?" Julia hesitated. "Of course not. But I told him we'd talk in the morning." "Good luck with that," Shannon snapped. "He's gone, Julia. He left." The words struck like ice water to the chest. "You need to wake up. You're not some teenager living for weekend thrills. Open your email," Shannon barked, then hung up without another word. Julia stared at her phone, the club lights flickering against her now pale skin. Barbara leaned in, concerned, but Julia wasn't listening. Her fingers fumbled over her screen until her inbox loaded. There it was. A message from her family, the subject line vague but heavy. She opened it. Each sentence hit harder than the last. That must be why Shannon was calling. Her phone buzzed again. Relief swelled, hoping it was Oscar. But it wasn't. Her brother's name appeared instead. "What did you do to him?" His voice came through with barely restrained fury. "Oscar adored you. And this is how you repay him." "Jack, you don't understand," Julia began, her voice cracking. I felt suffocated. I only wanted one night a week to breathe, to feel like myself again." "You're partying in some loud club while your husband is packing his life into suitcases," Jack spat. "This isn't freedom, Julia. This is selfish." His anger, so unlike him, caught her off guard. Jack rarely raised his voice, swore even less. "Please just listen," she tried, but he had already ended the call. Panic gripped her chest. She grabbed her bag and pushed through the crowd, not saying a word to Barbara or the others calling her name. The air outside hit her like a slap. Cold. Unforgiving. Within minutes, a cab pulled up. She climbed in, her hands shaking as she tried calling Oscar. Straight to voicemail. When she stepped into the house, the stillness nearly crushed her. The warmth was gone. The air felt stale and abandoned. She kicked off her heels and bolted up the stairs. Drawers were open. His clothes were missing. So was his shaving kit. Heart hammering, she ran back down. No laptop on the desk. No wallet on the shelf. No charger, no keys. Even his phone was gone. She raced upstairs again. His passport had vanished, too. Everything he had warned her about suddenly clicked into place. This wasn't a bluff. This wasn't a threat. He had left. And he meant it. Oscar had always been a man of his word. Honorable. Honest. Wounded, yes, but he never said something he didn't mean. And now, he was gone. She trudged downstairs like a ghost, the weight of reality dragging at her every step. Just an hour ago, she was laughing with friends, clinking glasses under disco lights. Now, her marriage had evaporated. Divorce wasn't some distant shadow anymore. It stood in front of her, real and roaring. Then her eyes landed on something above the fireplace. A framed photo. But not the one she remembered. She walked closer, her stomach turning. This wasn't one of their wedding pictures. It was a social media snapshot, someone else's engagement. A man on one knee in the foreground, and in the background, captured crystal clear her, wrapped around a stranger in the club, caught mid-embrace, his hand on her waist, her smile too wide, too intimate. Across the bottom, in black marker, one word had been written in bold, angry strokes: liar. Her knees buckled. The ground beneath her felt unreal. Oscar hadn't just left. He had known. What followed unraveled like a storm. Oscar boarded a flight to a new life, trading heartache for warm beaches and calm seas. Months passed. Julia, once obsessed with feeling free, found herself wrestling with loneliness and hardship. The glamour she chased had dissolved into survival. 3 months later, she faced eviction and bills she couldn't pay. Nights spent in bars turned into days spent chasing temp jobs. Freedom had come at a price, one she never expected to pay. Oscar, meanwhile, found peace in the rhythm of the ocean. Surfing under the sun, he met a woman, kind, grounded, unlike anyone from his past. What began as friendship grew into a gentle, sincere love. There was no drama. Just presence. Healing. The story of Oscar and Julia ended not with one final argument, but with an image. A single moment frozen in time. One photograph that told the story of everything that was lost and could never be reclaimed. Their futures continued, his filled with calm and new beginnings, hers weighed down by regret and lessons carved in stone. And with that, the chapter closed.